So I'm going to I'll start with chapter 1 and basically go through the topics. Oh, and I have shared, I have shared a document. I will share a document with you if it's not already shared. Basically going over the topics. Let me share that with you right now. I'll send the link to you in the Schoology message. Here we go. I'm going to share this as published to web. Share this link for you. Copy the link. And I'm going to send it in a Schoology message. Send message. Here comes the link. Link to review outline. Here comes the link in a Schoology message.
What does it look for?
A document that has the listing of the various topics in each section. Let's see if that link is working for you. I'll bring up a Schoology page here. See if it's there over here in Schoology. Over here we have in the messages. Where's my messages? There's my message. There's the link there. And here is the document giving you a listing of items to review. If you want to review, if you've been taking the chapter quizzes, you can basically review the items that cover those questions. Most of the questions are from the chapter quizzes, and we can even discuss some of them, so you're welcome to look over that as we review material. I suppose I could put this up on the screen here while we review this. So, thinking through the system, through these questions, first of all, going back to chapter 1, it was more an introduction here. See if I can zoom in on that. I guess that's a little better. The menu gets huge. I guess I'll go that far. Thinking of basically the whole motivation for system analysis, one of the things is, are you dealing with system software or application software or enterprise software? Specifically, what would you consider system software? Typically, we think of operating system. So what could possibly be system software, or something you consider built into the operating system? You're looking at a window, Windows 11. That's system software. What other items in Windows 11 you might consider part of the system and not a separate app? Well, sort of a piece of Windows 11. Can you name a piece of software that?
Drivers.
Yeah, the drivers. The firewall. How about under Linux or Mac? What would you consider pieces of the system?
Command line.
A what?
Command line.
Yeah, the command line. That is a feature built into the system. Would you call is malware built in the system now?
Only on Windows.
Does Windows have a malware kind of built in? Not malware. I mean malware defender.
Adware, if you count that.
Yeah, you got your defender. You might consider Windows malware. Some Linux people consider, and don't Mac people consider Windows malware. Takes over your system, wants to eat up resources.
Throws out at you constantly.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
But something like the antivirus was a separate application. It became so critical that it's essentially built in, right, with Windows Defender now. So we consider Windows Defender now has become system software, where it used to be an extra addition. You go, yeah, and that was part of the check-in here for students. What is your antivirus? Do they check your antivirus when they do the system check? Have you done your system check? It's been a while, hasn't it? Did they check for antivirus last time you?
For like tech registration?
Yeah.
Yeah, we checked.
So with Windows Defender, it's sort of built in. Do you check that it has additional antivirus in your tech registration?
We try to check and see if there's anything else besides Windows Defender.
Okay. Now, do you require it, or is it just
We
more?
don't require it.
Okay. How about for Mac? Does it? Do you have a? Is there a built-in? What do you think, John? Our Mac local Mac expert. Does Mac have a built-in antivirus?
Generally not, although macOS will check new applications you download from the internet for malware usually.
All right. Do I have any Linux experts in here?
Kind of.
What would you say for malware for Linux or anti-malware?
You don't need much, but there are open source projects
Yeah.
like ClamAV.
Yep. So similar to, I think Mac is in a similar way that the OS is pretty solid. ClamAV is what I've used in the past, and of course you build it into the whole networking scheme. But you better be keeping your system updates, security updates especially. So how about mission critical software? What would you consider mission critical software?
Database management systems.
Depending on how it's used, right? If I'm using it for teaching a course on database management, well, that's not mission critical, except teaching students the latest stuff. That's, you could consider that, important. What would be mission critical to a college? You deal with them all the time, or monthly maybe.
Keeping records of transcripts.
Yeah. Transcript, and so our person dealing with transcripts, Janny these days, she's pretty mission critical. How about the Schoology? Is that mission critical? We've become very dependent on it. Some teachers don't use it for much except storing useful documents. I have made it mission critical to my classes just because we're teaching technology, we want to use it, and by using it you learn what's critical and how to make things work. Would you say payroll? Pretty mission critical to a lot of companies. If people aren't getting paid, they're not going to come work for you. So that's more having employees that will be happy. How about website? Is that mission critical? For that depends on your business, right? If you're manufacturing parts and you have orders, well, website isn't that big a deal. But if you're social media, that is the definition of your company. If without the web, you don't exist. How about a healthcare? How about a hospital? What might you think in a hospital? What might be mission critical?
Whatever system they use for dosage and patient
Yeah.
charts.
The drug delivery and record keeping of that, right? And the whole HIPAA thing. You got a lot of critical to your mission. They'll shut you down if you're not tracking that. Keeping track of the information for every patient. Okay, mission critical. Various business models. Do you know what the business models are? Can you name them? Harley, can you name the various business models? Say what would you call a company that helps to transfer money from a bank to an investment firm, handling the transfer between a. Should I give you multiple choice?
Sure.
Business to business, business to consumer, consumer to consumer, or consumer to business. You recognize those business models? B2B, B2C are the two main ones. The business to business is the one I just described, where you're helping another business deal with another business, helping to streamline some business that they need to accomplish.
Yeah.
Walmart paying the vendors and handling that. Basically, the middleman. You talk about the middleman. They add costs to things, and if you want to get rid of the middleman, You go from the raw materials to delivering a product all by your lonesome. And you might find that, hey, that works for you. You're making something that people buy right out of raw materials. Maybe an artist, they're like a raw material to product. But an artist needs an art gallery. Unless they own the art gallery, they would likely work with someone that helps to display their artwork. So they might switch to their business is art, an art gallery provides the business a computer to customer. Someone who finds an art gallery for you, that would be business to business, helping artists find an art gallery. And if you're thinking of if you're entrepreneurial at all, that's the kind of thing that there's plenty of opportunities for. I think the various reading you find that business to business is a huge market, and because markets are changing and the ways people make money are changing, that if you find a business to business model and find your niche, you can make decent bucks until someone else discovers that niche and competes with you. But if you find a market and a product, because there's so many new things always coming up, especially in technology, you find a technology you like, drones or some technology that, hey, you can help a business in some way, you may find a place where you can do great. So, recognizing your business model. Business strategies. Various types of strategy. One is manufacturing. All right, that's one strategy where you're manufacturing something, and there's retail, where consumers can come and access your business, and various strategies apply there. Other business strategies. You got social media strategy, right? You're out there in social media. What would you call that? Is it retail?
Marketing.
How do you typically make money out in the social media world?
Oh, advertising.
Yeah, advertisement, and you're essentially, would that be like a business to business? You're helping a business advertise. They pay you for providing a place to advertise. You can consult with people how to get those funnels of advertisement in, so then they can make the money off of advertising. Tons of stuff out there, and the various business strategies. How about ERP? Recognize what ERP is? What's ERP? Samuel, what's ERP? ERP and TP. I purposely didn't say what they were. I just help your brain remember. Enterprise.
Resource planning.
Hey, good job, Sam. Yes, enterprise resource planning. Okay, for Sam only, what is TP? Transaction processing. Basically explain what they are. So a little review of that. Go back to the textbook if you want to review. Enterprise resource planning versus transaction processing. Remember what transaction processing is? Where you typically have a batch of things to process, and you process them at once, like things to ship. Here's your list of things to ship. Here's your transactions. Process that. Enterprise resource planning is, I'd say, a bigger picture than transaction processing, where you're focusing on, hey, let's get this particular pieces of work done. Where enterprise resource planning is, hey, how can we schedule everything and plan it and work it out most efficiently? It's going to be more expensive, but you may find out you have more benefit by planning out your whole scheduling. A big cost to a lot of companies is huge amounts of cost in inventory. You're manufacturing, and it's easier to make a bunch of things and pile them up in the warehouse. But what is a risk of piling up things in a warehouse in manufacturing?
What do you call it? Oversupply?
Okay, you have oversupply,
If the market changes and there's no longer demand for
and the market changes. Now the value of what's in the warehouse has suddenly dropped, or not suddenly dropped. It's dropping because that either that product becomes obsolete, or the market for it drops. I have a friend who has collected lots of ceramic uh, models, little ceramic trinkets, and your generation doesn't collect them anymore. And so people that have built up inventory of those, hoping that they'll become worth more. I think he had something that it was worth 10 grand. When I don't know if he paid that much for it, but the value of of those collections has dropped, and I think it's maybe down maybe around $500. But there may be people out there, if you find the market, they may be willing to pay that. I know a guy in Omaha, he is pretty savvy on what can be sold at a higher price than what he can pay for it at an auction, and he finds the right things and puts it online on eBay. He and his son both have eBay accounts, and he knows a market for those things that most people don't think are worth much. He knows that there is a market for them, and is able to make a profit on that. So thinking now towards the whole portion of her purpose of system analysis is to basically get a system done, prioritize systems for a company, and establishing some kind of a strategic plan. How would you describe, hey, how about Eli, how would you describe a strategic plan?
That's basically what your business, like, I don't know, it's very broad.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's basically like your business wants to do, like in terms of how it's going to make money and
Okay.
it's composed of a lot of stuff.
And two key words for a management person: the company's mission. What is your mission? You have to have your general goals of your company. And the mission statement is a big deal with companies, because that helps everyone get on board with what the strategic plan is for the company. If everyone keeps focus on that, it helps management to make it clear to all the employees, here's what our plan is. And then you also have specific goals to meet whatever your plan is. What are you providing? The best product possible. Well, you better have a strategy for validating the quality of your product, for comparing it to others, and have it's a big picture plan. So yeah, strategic plan, big picture plan defines not only what you want to do, what your market is, specific goals regarding valuing of people, and how to get to how to meet fulfill the mission, the word I was thinking about. How do you provide that, and what you do along the way are your goals. So think mission and goals are the big two words for strategic plan. Now suppose you have a project and you have a deadline and a certain amount of resources. What do you do to get the project going? How do you start a project? From a big picture plan, you've got a goal and a deadline, and you've been given a team.
You do interviews, feasibility study, and then requirement modeling based on the outcomes of the feasibility study.
Okay. And how about getting the team to be a working team? What are the big picture things you have to get a team to be functional?
Leadership skills, basically.
Yeah. So as a leader, what do you want to see in your team? Think big picture. You can even think like the basketball team. How do we make our basketball team, or any team, even a technical team, how do you get them to be an effective team?
Make sure they have good relationships with each other.
Okay. So they're happy with each other. So you have some kind of team. just acquaintance type, emotional kind of building? How about on the technical side? What do you need to do a technical side? Say you've got everyone, they're friendly people, they're professionals, they're pleasant to one another. What do you need to build beyond that?
Training, make sure they're all involved.
Yeah, so you have skills. You basically you need to know the skills on the team, what everyone brings, what part of the project they would be working on, right? You come to a team, you get an interview, okay, you're on this project. What's your first question? What do you want me to do on this project? And their question to you is, what can you do? And so hopefully on your resume you haven't lied and you do indeed remember all those wonderful classes you took that are showing on your resume and your college transcript and that wonderful GPA and just your friendly attitude and you're coming in on time. The next thing is, well, what are the goals? You've got to establish the goals of the team. Okay, we're on a team to do what? Just to be happy and play golf together, or are we working on this project? And what are the parts? What are the pieces you're working on? And once you're told you're part of a team and you're given here's what you're working on, then there should be, you could be a part of this, okay, what are my specific things I need to do today? My action items. What are my specific tasks? So breaking down from a team, we're working together, here's a system, to from the mission to what skills are there on the team, and now break it down into actionable tasks, and you build that Gantt chart kind of thing, and that comes later in the planning. And feasibility versus requirements modeling. Can you describe the difference between the two? Mr. Marchand, can you describe the difference between feasibility study and requirements modeling?
Requirements modeling is what are you looking for in a project, whereas feasibility study is it actually possible to do what you want to do?
Yeah. Can we, and also, can we afford it? How much will it cost to do what we want to do? We can do it, but it's going to cost a lot. Then you have the there's various parts of the feasibility. Very good. Okay, and that's chapter 1 concepts. Chapter 2 concepts are thinking about that whole SWOT analysis thing. Remember what SWOT stands for?
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities.
Very good. And so recognizing so opportunities, a new market has opened up, a new business needs this service between this other business. That's a huge potential for you. Learning about business, I would say if you know someone in the business major or know someone even out, someone in business, talk to them about what they see of where technology is failing, or talk to them about what you're interested in and see, is there a connection between what you're doing and what their business is doing? And perhaps you could collaborate and say, here's a business to business opportunity. Like, hey, there's large growth in a particular area. Do you know what the fastest growing computer language is right now?
Is it Python?
Look it up. I believe it's Python. Computer language. There's popularity and growth, and I think there's graphs out there. It's either Python or C#. Let's see. Top programming language, according to IEEE, top programming languages. Let's see. It doesn't give me a graph yet. Lots of advertisements. I'm not seeing a graph. Let me down in that link.
I would say best programming language is very subjective almost.
Yeah, and it depends on the market too. A specific niche, like NASA may be focusing on something like Rust for all their controls of their embedded systems. John Deere may have embedded systems. This one site says list Python up there and list some unknown language. R. Have you heard of R?
Yeah.
When IBM was in town, several IBMers were saying, hey, the R is very popular. Now that might be a specific type of business. I've never heard of Scala. Have you heard of Scala?
No.
runs on a Java virtual machine. Swift. Ooh, Mac people. That's a Swift language. Java is still up there according to this list. C# and C++ are still up there. JavaScript I see listed as number 9. TypeScript, Dart, haven't even heard of that. MATLAB, Rust is up there. Ruby, that was a big thing with some incoming students when I first came, and I haven't seen it hit off huge. Lots of interesting languages out there, but Python was listed 1, so a good reason for us to be using Python quite a bit. But that presents possible business-to-business opportunities. And I lost my other document. And again, a new market. You be the first to market with something. That can be an opportunity. Threats, competition. They also mentioned some case tools in the chapter. What is a case tool? What does CASE stand for?
Computer-aided software engineering.
Computer-aided software engineering, yeah. And lots of tools. There's for project management. I suppose you could call Microsoft Project case tool. The DFD modeling software helps you to model the data flow diagrams that we're going to get to. And again, using a standard case tool helps you work with others that are familiar with it. If you have a completely new case tool and someone else has a completely new case tool, it may make for hard communication if the models are coming out completely different. They speak a completely different language. But if you have a common tool that many people are using, familiar with, and hopefully, and I'm expecting that there's going to be more and more AI built into it, will help guide you into, hey, what are the important things to work on as a project. Can you imagine having maybe this is an opportunity. Could you use AI to manage projects? If you fed it the right information about here's the tasks, here's the market, here's the connection to the market data, could an AI tell you, hey, this is the task you need to work on tomorrow to meet your goals? It would have to have lots of the correct data coming in. I don't know if it could ever beat the human connection, connecting to that unidentified by the AI source of data that brings in a whole new viewpoint. Unless, of course, you can have an AI that can go search for data. Have a little AI bot, little business-to-business AI applications. I would say that's a possible huge market if you know how to harness the AI knowledge base out there, or the AI capabilities. I think there's a lot of potential for scams out there too. Put AI in the name and people think it's great and invest and realize there's nothing there. So case tools, what else? When you're getting project requests, you have to keep track of whether it's a requirement, mandatory requirements, what are external versus internal factors. Suppose I have a problem with a website. Is that an internal or external factor?
Is it a website that you maintain, or is it just a website that you need to access for your job?
Good question. Yeah. So that would be a good question. Is it an internal website that you're responsible, or is it a vendor we've hired? We consider that an external factor. It'd be perhaps internal to them if they are managing the website. Other internal factors are in manufacturing example. Internal factors are how you're managing scheduling your machines to produce the product most efficiently. And there's a company out there that will sell you a system to help you schedule manufacturing. If you give it the right data, here's how much it takes to make a part. Here's the machine that needs to make that part among combination of these others. It'll give you the best way to schedule given all the orders you have currently. And if you can save 10% when manufacturing cost is $1 million, 10% is $100,000. A system would be worth it if there's a 10% improvement in efficiency. Oh, looking at review committees. When you're analyzing and reviewing a system, what are possible conflicts in review committees?
One person dominating the conversation.
Yep. And so you got one talker that dominates. So you have some review, some control, someone facilitator, helps everyone get a chance for input. I like the written input versus verbal, so you can take time to think about it, and it's written there. You can people remember review what you wrote. Sometimes people talking, it's like, okay, what did you say 15 minutes ago? Because I forgot. Having written it down makes it clear. How about who's related to who in the company? Could that affect your committee? That's the son of the CEO, and the CEO has proven that he's not quite impartial. That could be, or even if he is impartial, he appears to not be impartial if there's some relationship there. You're going to have a department that's kind of hurting for work. You're going to be pushing for your department's project, kind of like states in our government. States want money to come to them for projects, and they make up a lot of projects that bring in the money. There's a little conflict there between the various departments. Other possible conflicts, misunderstanding of how the systems work, because someone either has been given the wrong documentation or they're behind in their technology knowledge. That's something that you will bring to the company, fresh knowledge of what's out there and available. How do you keep a project on time and on budget?
Establish proper deadlines and have a budget that actually is allocated towards getting the project done.
Yeah, you have to keep in touch with how things are going. How much time do you have accurate estimates of the time needed to take it, and the accurate estimates of the budget, and not going over those budgets. It's so easy to say, this particular feature would be really important. This actually happened to me in a real project where we were installing a system, and the guy said, we really need our system was working in a dark room, and so the idea was we need to see what's happening on that system out where the other employees are working in their cubicles. We need to display what the system is showing. To get the video display, back then we didn't have fast cables, Cat6 cables that could send video information. We had to do fiber optic, and fiber optic was new and expensive. The box that we could show video on in a room 50 foot away was 10 grand. Well, it seemed pretty necessary that this should be information displayed to the people so they could see, hey, here's a flaw going through the system. We put the money in the budget. Well, we purchased the item because it seemed very important feature. That put our project over budget, and it didn't make the management happy, because even though we could convince them it was a necessary thing, we had to go back and spend the time to convince them because we had gone over budget. And I realized I didn't like working on budget things. I liked working on the technology things. So my other member of our team, he handled the budgets and stuck to it. And I realized, the budgeting part, that could be a big problem if you go over budget. So technical feasibility was there, but financially it didn't look good to go over budget. And eventually that got sold off to iMation. It was a product that was used in imaging X-rays. A fun project to work on. Mandatory requirements, typically it's government requirements. They impose validation. Or if you're going to be part of ISO 2030, the standards for businesses, if you commit to some standards, they come with mandatory requirements. And what is a good project scope statement? What's a danger in the project scope statement?
Scope creep.
Yeah, making it vague enough where one person can think it's this, and another person can think it's a lot more features. So a good scope statement makes it clear what's being delivered. So that's chapter 2, going over the business case, understanding those various topics. Yes, Samuel?
Feasibility benchmarks, I didn't catch the ones for those.
Oh, let's discuss that. What are the various types of feasibility? I'll give you one. Operational feasibility. With the current people that we have and the way we do things, will it work with the way we operate? That's operational feasibility. Can you name other feasibilities? Factors. Basically,
Financial?
doable. Feasibility means is it doable? You said financial? Yeah.
Or does that go in operation?
No, that would be a separate one. Yeah. Can we afford it? It'll work with our people. The way we do things would be great. Oh, but it's really expensive. That would be financial feasibility. You name the other one? I think is it just the 3? I think it's just the 3.
Is there equipment included in all those?
Kind of. I think you're getting warm. What about the equipment? Does it exist? Do we have that technology? So technical feasibility. Is the equipment there? Does the equipment exist that could even do what we want to do? Does the CPU have the power that we need to do this specific thing? Do we have the storage space for the amount of data that we want to deal with? Is it technically feasible to store that amount of data and process in that amount of time? Dr. Yellow was working on considering for his doctorate a high-speed camera type thing that was, I forget how much data he was talking about taking in every second, and the feasibility of that. And I was really interested. He ended up choosing something else for his doctorate. But I was interested in seeing, and there's probably a lot of people working on that, especially in the military, right? You want to fly over very quickly and get very accurate storage of what you saw. Technically feasible, maybe, probably very expensive. Operationally, well, we got satellites out there. If we get good enough lenses, we're flying over all the time. All right, chapter 3, managing the project. This means a project that has made it on time. And there's 3 remember the 3 parts of the triangle on the project? Kind of competing corners of the triangle. We kind of mentioned already in this feasibility. Financially, can we afford it? Is it? The other is technology. Will we deliver high quality? So cost, quality, and what's the third triangle? Part of the triangle. Cost or quality or? Three parts of the triangle. Cost, quality, time. Get it on time. And those 3 compete. You can get 2, but not all 3. You can get it fast and low cost, but it's not going to be high quality. You get high quality and fast, it's not going to be cheap. Fast and cheap, low quality. High quality and cheap, it's going to take a while. So those are all competing in a successful project. A successful project will meet in a reasonable way all 3 pieces. It's reasonable cost, delivered at a reasonable time, agreed upon time, you meet the deadline, and the quality validated in some way in some testing. And we talked about, this is where we did our Gantt chart and laying out tasks and the amount of time, estimating the amount of time, and we didn't do a lot of cost, although remember in those project management tools, you assign a cost to your people that you expect to work on it, and then you estimate the amount of time to complete, and there you have their pay rate times the amount of time. But there's a ton more things to go into the cost management. What's the critical path? Let's see, who can define my critical path for me? Abby, can you tell me what is critical path? How would you explain critical path?
It's like the things that need to be accomplished for the system to work correctly. Like unavoidable. These have to be properly working.
Okay. Now there are going to be a lot of things that need to be completed in required for the project. The critical path is a little more refined than that. Say I've got 10 things that have to be done, but 3 of them are critical path. Why are they a critical path? Even though all 10 things have to be done, there's 3 of those 10 things. Can you remember how the critical path works? See, I've got 10 tasks, and 3 of them are critical path. What made them the critical path?
Do they have to be accomplished first before the other 7?
You're getting warmer, yeah. They have to be accomplished first is warmer. The key is, say I've got 3 things that don't take very long. The 4th thing takes longer, and it's needed along with the other 3 things before I can go to the 5th task. Those first 3 things are not critical because if they aren't the critical path, because there's some slack. If they take a little longer than original, it won't affect my final schedule. Anything that, if it changes in how it's delivered, if there's a delay in it, will delay the entire project, that becomes a critical path. If 3 things are in parallel, 2 things that don't take very long, if they adjust their delay a little bit, still the project will be delivered on time. They're not critical path. Anything whose time delay will delay the entire project is critical path. So all the things that take the longest before the next thing can happen, if there's other things that don't take as long, there's slack time in them, they're not critical path. And that's why these project management tools always identify the critical path. And that's the thing that management or the project manager focuses on is, hey, this piece of the project, if it's delayed at all, causes my end of delay, or if I can save time on this little piece, it will get it done before the time. We can deliver it ahead of time, and which it always looks good. If you're managing the project, you focus on your critical path items. Now, one thing critical about that is you got the right information in your project scheduling, that you are properly identifying the critical path. If you focus on one thing and realize, oh, this other thing was a critical path, and now we're really delayed because we didn't realize that was the critical path. Somebody messed up in estimating or giving you information about what would take the longest. Suddenly there's a port shutdown and a strike, and the part that you were expecting to be in plenty of time now is delayed a lot more. Now that new piece of the project has become your critical path. That's happening to a lot of people right now as the longshoremen, I think are they on strike or did they resolve it? That's been a big scary thing. You don't know if it might affect the results in November if this longshoreman strike has a big effect on the economy. Usually the economy is what is the biggest factor in the results of the election. So critical path. Building the team, again, building trust between the team, making the goals clear, just like we talked about in the chapter 1, and clear communication among the team. Getting the trust, that basically means that people aren't hiding either needs that they have or overestimating what they can do or underestimating costs. You got to make sure people can clearly say, hey, there's an issue here, if without being, feel like they're going to be fired or ignored or ghosted because they brought up something that people didn't want to hear in terms of a real need. Intangible versus tangible benefits. Something that's measurable versus not measurable.
I would say an intangible benefit is the benefit you get when you deliver, for example, business to business, when you deliver a project on time. The trust you get is intangible. The business relationship is intangible but valuable still.
Yeah, a something not quite measurable. That's essentially what tangible means. How about better security. Is that tangible? It's hard to measure security, right? Because you don't want to be broken into. How do you know if you're more secure if you haven't had a malware yet? The only way to actually measure better security is some have got through and some has not. You don't want to be in that. You want to have, hey, we're stronger security, and there's ways to measure, but it's hard to measure. So improve relationships. That's hard to measure. That's more of a, hey, you generally over time you see better working relationship. How about energy savings? Can you measure energy savings? Is that tangible or intangible?
Intangible.
Did you say tangible or in?
Intangible.
No, you can measure the cost of your electricity. That's it. That is measurable. You can't measure an improved relationship. You can sort of guess at it. How about faster time to market? Can you measure that? From a request to, or from a product idea to getting to market? It's hard. It may be hard to measure, but you can measure that. You know, here's when we put we're going to make this new product, and here's when we deliver it to the shelves of Walmart. It takes some keeping the data, but it is tangible. Less tangible is the more vague measurements. Enhanced security is hard to measure. You could measure number of security events. That would be tangible, but whether or not it means enhanced security, that's a little vague, more vague. Anything else there? Common problems in project or monitoring projects. Remember, you're constantly in the monitoring. You're reviewing what's going on. You are checking the status of things, tracking the status either of the parts that are coming in ready to be assembled, or the completed testing of software has reached the specific goal that was clear in the project plan. So figuring out whether you're making it and monitoring it depends on how well you defined it at the start. And that was the part of those first 3 chapters were part of the planning process in project management. Now, a little break from this, going back to Schoology and where's my course? Oh, when I go to messages, I leave my course. That's always fun. In Schoology, John Smart's class. In your assignments, any questions on that chapter 6 assignment? I didn't talk about a state transition diagram. Do you need a little help looking over what a state diagram might be for our Bible catalog system?
Yeah.
Now, I did say you can use AI. Let's see what I could get with a reading from a ChatGPT. And if you don't want chat. If you don't want to use that, think to yourself, before I ask AI, what is a state? What's an example of a state? Thinking of someone that's buying a product. A state of the system might be, or of the user might be, we're talking about a user object state. User is new client. Have they been registered or are they new? Okay, that would be a state. Registered or unregistered. What does it take to get from registered to unregistered? They go through the registration project. And part of the registration process is, okay, they've given me their email. They are not yet registered. They need to have that email validated. So their status for email is validated or invalidated. And then once they validate the email, then they are in the state of being a registered user. Well, and so you've got many ways to look at states. You could look at the state of one object in your system or the state of the system itself. Let's see. Ask the general question to my pal ChatGPT, and why is that not clicking? Here we go. Let's try Bible library, or we could just call it a transcript, or a book library, or how about an encyclopedia? Well, just try Bible. Let's just try Bible library software. Example state diagram. Now I found that asking vague questions, I still often will get good answers. If I don't get a good answer, I might restate my question. Let's see what we get from them. Suggestions for states. It's taking a while. While it's thinking, I could go ask Copilot. Not sure why it's taking so long to think. Oh, it's not. Is it not going to talk to me until I log in? Or maybe it's just being slow. I'm already logged in. Let's try that again. Bible reading library software state diagram. Sometimes I ask for example. Let's see if I don't ask. I'll put example. Now I'm getting a state. Now this is thinking of the state of the user. Look at that, you're given lots of states, ideas, maybe more than you want in your diagram. But basically your job would be, if you get these listing of states, your job would be to put it in state diagram and I get something like this, where the system is going through different states. I describe them as the state. In this particular one, doesn't describe the activity to get from one state to another. Let's see if here's an example here. One state to another in a toaster, it looks like. Is this a toaster? Yeah. Or a bake, or an oven. This is an oven state diagram. And they're giving more detail in the square than I've seen in the book example. The book example just had a rectangle describing door open. They didn't have to worry about the state. The door closed would send you to this state of heating, and inside the heating state, sub items would be toasting and baking, depending on what has been added. This is more complex than the example than the book gave. But you could start out with these states, draw them in little boxes of the state of the software. This is the state of the software. And then we have the state of what the viewer is seeing, I guess. And the settings state, where they have entered the settings screen. So their states here in the example is more describing the various activities that the user is doing and how they get from one item to the other. So I'm not sure I'm that happy with this state diagram. They give you lots of details. Here's others. This is a little simpler. I might go with this one, where I have different views that I'm looking at, and basically you draw a rectangle for each of these, and then we draw an arrow between them, figuring out what goes next. Oh, they gave you the little arrow. They gave you an idea for the arrow, that the start box, open, user opens, takes me to the authentication state. From the authentication state, I log in, and now I have the library view state. From the library view, I can choose different views. I can choose the reading view, takes me there. I could choose the exporting view, or does that only come after I've been reading? I'm thinking you can only get the exporting view if you entered the reading view. I think they're missing, you could do an arrow to return to library view from the exporting view. I think I could return to library view from the reading view. It looks like I should be able to anytime go back to the library view. So reading view, arrow back, exporting view from the reading view. I could either go back to reading view or go back to library view. Do you want some help just drawing this particular state diagram? Or does it clear what you do? Let's go ahead, we'll help you draw this a little bit. So I have this, and I'm gonna now go draw it, and I'm gonna use, what should I use? I think I'll just use Google Draw. I'll go to my cs412 folder, fall 2024. Where'd it go? There it is. And I'm gonna do a new Google Draw. And bring it over to this screen. I turned off my snapping because I got tired of it snapping when I didn't want to snap. And I've learned that if it's on the screen, then when I go full screen, it should stick to this screen. There we go. So I have the different states. Zoom in on that. Let's draw some rectangles. I like the rounded rectangle. So let's just get all my states, and then I'll do the arrows between them. Start, authentication, library view, reading view. I think if I just start typing. All right. Copy paste. Let's see. Let's make the font larger, and then I'll copy paste it. All right. Various states, and I'll just worry about the arrows in between them. So start, authentication. Gets me to library view. Should we call it library view or just main view? I'll call that main menu. And then I'm reading. And I'm exporting. And I'm logging out. So I have the states as given to me, and in my documentation, in my homework, I would put the phrase requested was Bible reading software. This phrase here given to ChatGPT. You don't have to do much more than that. Just say here's the phrase given, and it gave me a list of states and in an example. See, without the example, I get a lot of this and not sure what to do. If I throw the word example in there, it gives me an example state. So now we just draw the lines, and on the line, I think I can give each line a title. So reading, exporting, logout. All right, so let's put these in order. So there's start, and I get authenticate. I'm going to put the main menu in the middle because I'm going to be coming back to that from multiple states. And let's say I can only log out. Can I log out? Should I be able to log out from any screen? I would think I should be able to log out from any screen. So just because I'm planning to be able to log out from anywhere, I'll put these here. And depending on how you can organize it, how you like. I can always get back to the main menu from any of the sub-menus. I suppose I could use distribution too here. So let's draw some lines. Let's draw some arrows. I like curved connectors. And so start to authentication. And I'll change my arrow to be a lovely solid arrow. And then change the width of my line to be a little wider. And can I give a title? Log in. Oh, there's another connector. Authentication. I can always go to my main menu. And what's the easiest way to add can I add a title to alt text? Control Alt Y. Let's see, alt text. What does it show? Log in. See if that shows in my drawing. No, it doesn't. Do I have to draw a separate? I guess I can go back and draw the text box. Let's do my arrows, then I can give them titles. So they're authentic, they're logged in successfully. And let's just make some more connectors. I think if I copy paste that, I can then just drag its beginning. So from main menu, I can go to reading. The only way to get to export is to go from reading. So reading will take me, can go to the export state. And anytime I can come back to the main menu. See what happens. I've got to draw multiple lines here. Export. I can always come back to the main menu. Gotta grab the end of the line. There we go, main menu. Attach that. And I can always come back from export to reading, right? And I may make it come in there. And I can log out from at any time. So let's paste that. And from any of the systems, there's always going to be a logout. Now the only thing left here would be putting a title on each line. How do I get from one state to the other? Again, this is just one other modeling technique or method to help describe and even help the software people say, okay, I'm going to do a state table, and depending on what system you're building, actually there is a way to define the state and have a table built into your software, and you simply have a state transition software written. So all it does is look at the state table and know what to do based on the state of the system. Depending on your system, that's a valid way of actually programming some fairly complex behavior in a program. Is simply base it on a state table. And if you do programming that way, well, you can see how a state diagram would be the best way to document or to model what you're planning to do in software. Now, so far, I haven't put a title here, so it would be up to you to put in a title explaining this is a state diagram, state transition diagram for, and state what it is for. Don't just put sad fall 24 for Mr. Manning. No, describe this is a state diagram for a Bible library software using the phrase such and such if for chat in ChatGPT. And put your author and date and put in a nice place. I'm not going to be fussy of where you put it, as long as it's there and it's not just this blank without an explanation of what this diagram is. So don't skip the part about after you create it. Don't just say, hey, this is homework chapter 6. No, this is a state transition diagram for a Bible software library system describing the states of the user. Developed using help from AI. Now, just for fun, I'm going to go and ask a different AI. I'm going to give Bing the same, or give Copilot the same phrase, and see if it gives me something similar. Copy that phrase, go to bing.com, because I forget the link for the Copilot. Is it just copilot.com now? What is it? Ask that same phrase, see what. Oh, so it is bing.com and then the chat. See if it gives me anything. It's taken it a while. We'll see if it comes back with something. I'll let you see my example state diagram. Now remember, what's missing here is still the action on the line. So an action would be visit site, successful login, select reading, select export on the page, click the logout button. So in this particular case, it's not a super complex what happens on the arrow. But you can imagine a more complex system, that listing of what's on that arrow would be, you know, the temperature above 100, or timer has set, or timer times out. Robot sees obstacle. Temperature is below a certain amount. Turn on heater. All that kind of stuff would be involved in some sort of state transition. And how you draw the arrows, what type of arrow, not going to be fussy with that. Now you see in the review material you have the topics to review for the other chapters. That's basically, the questions are mainly from your chapter quizzes. I'll be throwing in at least one DFD with, you have to recognize the errors in the DFD. I'm not planning on a long essay question, but there might be short essay questions. Explain a particular concept. Not super intricate, but a general concept that you should have in your head. You better have, I'll tell you this, you better be able to tell me the 5 stages of the waterfall. What are the 5 stages and what happens in each stage? So I'll tell you that. That'll be a short essay question. Explain the 5 stages and what happens in each stage. Planning, analysis, design, implementation, operations, and security. That's a fundamental thing that you want to have, you want to be able to recite at any interview. You did system analysis? What is the SDLC? Oh, those are the 5 stages: planning, analysis, design, implementation, operation of a system. What happens in the planning, analysis, design, implementation, operation stage? Even though we haven't gotten to the design, implementation, operation, you should at this point know what happens in those stages. And I think with this, I've recorded this. I'll post it in my on my channel if you need to go back and review. You'll do great on it, and it'll just more of, hey, you'll get done quickly and have a wonderful, relaxing rest of the week after Thursday. It will be closed book. There's nothing to take home. Just get the homework projects done to help just review the concepts. All right, and send me any questions. Have any email, anything unclear, and I'll help you, and maybe it might even help the class if there's anything unclear. All right, have a wonderful day.